to another episode of the Hakimian Show. My name is Hakimian, and today we have Vensen Ambeau, pastor at Allen Chapel AME Church. It's an honor to have you here, Vincent.
Hey, Jack. How are you? Good to be here. Good to be here,
man. Glad you're here. You got your Superman shirt. Does that mean you're a super dad, super pastor, super husband?
All of that. Super husband. My wife actually gives me the nickname Super Husband, but it's all of that. I'm feeling super today.
Amen. Amen. Well, I'm glad you're here. And why don't you tell our viewing audience and why you are a Christian, why you're a pastor, what happened that you would choose such a dangerous life?
I don't know if we have enough time in this segment to do it, but I'll give the shortened version. Basically, just having an experience that radically changed my life. Knowing very clearly that I wasn't interested in trying to follow Christ. I was more interested in fulfilling my own needs and fulfilling my own desires. And just one day, I clearly heard the voice of God speak to me. And then I went to church and gave my life over. And ever since then, things have been radically different in my life. It's unbelievable how things have changed for me. And so having that real moment, that real experience, obviously meant that was something real there. So that solidified my faith. And then the calling for a pastor where I was at in undergrad, he was preaching on a text in Joshua.
Yeah.
And I was just really just felt God speaking to me, calling for leaders to step up and to lead his people. And coupling that with what I experienced, the real transformation that had taken place in my life, and then also now hearing what God was saying to me through Joshua to lead people, I really felt the calling to lead people in life transformation through Jesus Christ. For me, ultimately, that's the only way in which we can change our lives, and experiencing that and seeing that for myself. Just say, hey, this is it. This is the way to go. So.
That's nice, man.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, what has been the greatest joy since you've been in the ministry of pastoring?
Yeah. I think the greatest joy for me is this endless search for doing it God's way. Yeah, man. It's an up and down roller coaster ride. But God has really, I've really been searching to find out how do you do this? Well, God, how do you lead? How do you pastor? How do you lead a congregation? And I've gone to various sources, various people, various books, and so forth. But I think right now in this stage of my career, in the stage of my vocation as a pastor and calling, I think I've kind of got a little more clarity on terms of what it looks like. I think early stages, it was just a lot of tinkering, right? Trying to figure out the code. And I think being at this, particularly in my denomination, which we're used to moving a lot, but being at my church for this set amount of time, I've had a chance to really grow up in a number of ways. And I have to admit, one of the things that really kind of helped me to get back to what God had called me to is this thing about discipleship, in which you've had a great deal in helping me to see that more clearly. So that brought some clarity to where I should go.
Yeah.
And then that reminded me, it brought me back, interestingly enough, to the day when I accepted my calling. The day I accepted my calling, it was great. I imagined leading this congregation, leading the church, and leading people in life transformation through Christ. But along the years, it's been very difficult and challenging, even to the question where I kind of questioned, like, man, God, what would you really call me to? But this year, just looking at discipleship, it seemed to now come around full circle.
Nice.
That this is what God has called me to develop disciples, those who would know who He is and know who he is and what He can do, and then change their lives as a result of that. So the greatest joy has been just constantly in prayer, constantly just in the lab trying to figure out the formula, and now. Now I feel like we're on to something, and so I'm feeling really good about the direction in which we're going to this year.
So at the end of the day, for you, it's really about discipleship, seeing people fall in love with Jesus, walk with Jesus, grow in Jesus, fulfill His purposes?
Man, when I think about what inspired me and what influenced me, think about discipleship. It's about the relationship development, right? It's
Wow.
about really pouring into someone's life, and just transforming their ways. Both of us just transforming each other through Christ, right? And one of the greatest impact in my ministry early on is my father in ministry. I remember, on Friday nights we would go to his house for men's Bible study.
Wow.
And we were in his house, man, and we're just sitting around, and he was just pouring into us. So much so that, I really just kind of wanted to stay connected to him, that I was willing to drive about 45 minutes outside of Gainesville in a rural place where you can't pay anybody to go there,
Wow.
But we were willing to go. I mean, he had so much influence that he had a van load of college students go out to this place. And because it started off from what we were doing on those Friday evenings, just being poured into. Now the other element that I'm learning is about the practical part of it, right? We sit, we teach, we pour into each other, and then now encourage them to go and do something else. So I think that's been the key. So just kind of now just staying right there and working that is the goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
be right back with some more questions.